referrals are one of the few channels of traffic that have exponential dividends. If you get this really well and you know a customer is going to send you 3 more customers and those 3 are going to send you 3 more customers, that one lead on Facebook has a chance to pay exponential dividends in terms of organic leads that are more valuable, higher trusting, close at a higher rate, and have all those other positive effects on the business. Let's talk about growing pains. let's
the 80s sitcom.
Yes, exactly. That's why you're here. No, okay. So in different methods for growing when it comes to marketing, there's all these sorts of channels. And if you get to like traffic is the top constraint usually. And there's classic categories of traffic, kind of, what is it? Organic, paid, referral, and owned?
Traffic you own.
Yeah, is that
like
it? It's just like owned, borrowed, bought, and then
that's it.
It's owned, borrowed, bought. So there's only 3 categories. I was trying to think of why sometimes I think about it in 4 categories there. Maybe it's because I put the promoter traffic in. Is that considered borrowed or bought? I'm not sure where it is.
Yeah, I think sometimes we look at, so there's traffic you own, traffic you can buy, and traffic you can rent, basically. But sometimes like relationships and affiliate are kind of almost in that 4th
I'm going to expand it. There's a 4th category. It's called earned. So you got owned, borrowed, bought, and earned.
I like it.
But you think of it kind of like, inbound, outbound. So there's paid. It's like I pay $1, I get some visibility, and hopefully the funnel works there. There's, I can kind of like try to do it by content. I create posts out there. I still, how do they find it? Like maybe Google indexes it and then they search for the term and they find my page because of a blog, whatever it is. There's groups. It's kind of that borrowed traffic where it's like I've assembled them, but like if Facebook decides to give 10% organic distribution or 50% organic distribution, I have no control over it. I still have to post something, but then whether they see it or not is out of my control. There's email marketing. Like I own it. I send out an email. There you go. So all these things, come into play as you're growing, as you're doing marketing is, ultimately the game is get more customers, increase value per customer. That's how you grow the business. But from the marketing perspective, you're playing around with this like quantity and quality. I'll put like variety in that quality there. So you're like, okay, I want to reach more people, hopefully reach more of the right people and then keep them entertained and educated and feeling more connected and close and favorable towards my brand. At certain thresholds, you can exhaust a channel. It just happens. Like we started doing this year, LinkedIn as a channel for, this would be outbound. I kind of realized like 2024, I was like, we did no outbound. We don't do any outbound. I was like, let's figure out, let's unlock outbound. And if you go there, you create a category, whatever it is, like I want to reach this type of professional. And LinkedIn might tell you there's 2,000 people that reach that criteria. So like, that's it. That's the boundary of what I can get here is 2,000. And Facebook will do similar things. They'll be like, okay, based on your defined criteria, here's how many people are in your audience. Usually in Facebook, it's, hundreds of millions or, depending on how strict you are. And you're like, okay, it's going to take me a while to exhaust this place. But you get to these portions where you've exhausted those obvious places, and especially in like the bought, borrowed, and owned. Bought, borrowed, and owned, I think you can define and exhaust those channels. So if you got a list of 10,000, I can email them, but you're like, keep on emailing them. So you focus on variety. And so what I want to talk about is in that growing pain is I want to talk about that earned. So the earned channel of traffic. And so this is the referral, the recommendation. This is how many of your customers will tell another person about your product, about your service. What's the downline effect of your service? This is marketing that comes from having a good product. It's marketing that comes from just being good at meeting or exceeding expectations there. But it's not just that. So step 1 is you got to meet or exceed expectations. Step 2 is you can have a choreographed procedure to encourage those promotions. And I want to talk about a couple of these strategies. And so
I want to just hit some data here as we go into referrals. So I just was looking up stats on this. A referred customer is 18% more loyal than a customer acquired by other means. Referred customers are 4 times more likely to refer additional people. And customers referred by other customers have 30% higher retention rate. And lastly, customers acquired through referrals spend 200% more with the company they were referred to. So if you're wondering if this earned is valuable, I think it's pretty powerful.
Those are great stats. It's good context there too, because this isn't in the frame of traffic, of value of traffic. It's harder to come by, but it is more valuable. And why is it harder to come by? Because it is throttled by the number of customers that you have, right? So it's like if you only have 5 customers currently in your business, well, potential refers are 5. Now, if you go to a past show, we talked about this farming method of kind of planting the seed, seeding your own referral partners. Like you can actually you can orchestrate this sort of scenario before you even have customers by just giving it away for free or at a discount, or just to start the process of getting referrals that create referrals. But I think it also comes into play when you've exhausted a traffic channel. So when you usually reach those thresholds, you're like, man, we've maxed out all we can do with LinkedIn or with paid advertising. Sometimes it's not linear. It's rarely linear where you're like, and it's because of that effect, because you reach the constraint of the ecosystem. There's only, I don't know, there's still billions, whatever it is, but your addressable market, there's a cap on that addressable market. So at some point that channel is going to reduce in its effectiveness, its marginal effectiveness. So here's some ways to create referrals or to encourage that. So one we talked about previously was like seed them, create the exchange. I'm not going to charge you, or I'm not going to charge you dollars. I'm going to charge you in referrals. I would prefer you to give me a referral. Think about that stat that Tyler mentioned earlier. They're 200 statistically, and this is an aggregate of a lot of industries, but 200% more valuable than a regular customer. So is it worth it to subsidize one customer that's worth 100% of that baseline to create more referrals that are actually worth 200% of that customer? You're like, if they send one referral, already statistically in aggregate, you're winning. That's probably why the farming method works there, is because it by its nature, they're more likely to stay longer, to spend more, well, as a consequence of staying longer, or as a consequence of that trust that comes from the referral, go to a higher tier package or give you more grace in the process of onboarding with you. And so that's one thing, seed your referrals. Second thing is gamify and encourage referrals. So we've seen this in affiliate marketing. There's elements of this where they'll have, maybe it's sort of gamified, there's tiers of rewards. If you do X amount, like 1 referral's worth this, 2 referrals worth that, 3 referrals worth this. You can run competitions on a monthly basis, most amount of referrals in a defined period of time. You can create exclusive groups of refers. So, hey, everybody who refers over 5 folks becomes part of our higher tier, whatever it might be. And so this gamification is actually a pretty valuable one that I think is uncomfortable for a lot of businesses, because it's exposing the fact that you want your customers to recommend other customers, which is not a bad thing.
Why do you think that's challenging for a lot of people to embrace? Is there like a fragile ego situation? Like people don't want to
They don't want to show that
needy?
like nobody's done it. Yeah, I think maybe that's part of it is they don't want to feel, I think there could be an aspect of maybe fragile ego. I think there's an aspect of they don't want people to feel like their recommendation is disingenuine. So I know some folks that are uncomfortable with the idea of affiliate marketing because they're like, well, if I like it, I just want to tell people about it. I don't want to.
I don't want to be. People think I'm only doing it because I'm getting paid.
That's exactly right. And so that's why
fair.
Just create creative compensation. So some of that's market related. So you can create rewards or gamify it with status, with opportunity, with bonuses. So then people don't feel the same. And that's actually, for your mass market offers, the ones that the people that do it really well, they'll gamify the rewards or the incentives and make them less monetary. So it doesn't feel like, hey, I'm recommending you because I'm going to get $1,000 kickback by sending you over here. Because maybe it's like, hey, I'm recommending you because I believe it's good, but also I know that if I can get to 10 referrals, I unlock extra bonus layer. And so that's why I'm just motivated subconsciously to be a little bit more vocal about something that I already had a positive experience with. Because this is where, if you play on this, doing multiple of these factors, of these incentives, increases its effectiveness. I think a lot of times, if you think of like baby leagues where people get into this, they start like an affiliate program and they expect that that's enough, just the monetary exchange. Hey, if you send me a customer, I'll give you 20% kickback or whatever it is. And I see so many people approach it like, if I build it, they will come. That's not at all how it works. Because as we mentioned on past shows, like that's at most the 6th most valuable thing in their life is the money. And so you're like, you are there being like, hey, I don't know what a good example of it is. It's like, hey, here's a free pair of socks. Like, as far as like things that they care about in their wardrobe, they're like, that's maybe the sixth thing that I'm like stoked on is socks. And so it's unintentionally or like just not as obvious that it's a lower tiered motivator. Those other things like status, like time, relationship, how can I build a relationship about it? Those other bonuses that you can do and play in there are actually going to be more motivating. But usually you almost want to do the monetary aspect of it because business is a game of dollars, but at the very least I would pair these things together. And then at the most you see this is where people do it, where it's like, hey, when you refer someone, you get extra credits into your system. So then once again, they're like, it's sort of monetary, but it's disconnected enough such that they're not doing it for the dollars there. And I'll tell you, like, I've been in programs where they've done this very, very well. And when I look at it, like, this is for myself, but the most motivating thing is not the dollars on it. Because sometimes I see through the math of it too. And you're like, I know if I was a commission only salesperson, like the ones that do it well, I'm like, oh, it's ironically this, they'll actually be less financially compensating and more elevating in other areas. Right. So then you see people who are like, I want to be noticed by you. I want to be on that leaderboard. I want to have the influence, the status, the reputation. And that's actually a stronger driving factor for some of your top performers than just the monetary aspect of it. Because, I mean, depending on your industry, most of your customers aren't professional affiliate marketers. They're just not. And so you're thinking like, well, I'm giving you $500. So you should just make this your full-time job. Like, that's not going to become their full-time job. The game should be, if you're thinking success here for you as a business, is how can I raise the tide of everyone? So you gamify it. And then I'd say refine into these bonuses, be clear of your standard of a win, of excellence. And so this is where you'll create tiers or structures in a way where it's not linear. It's actually cliffed. So you're disproportionately motivating people to get to X amount of referrals, 3 referrals, 4 referrals, right? You're also trying to stretch people in what they would normally do. So maybe on average, everyone refers 1 customer and you're like, okay, if I want to lift the average to 2, I might create a cliff at 4. And so you realize you're not in that moment with that structure there. You're going to see more people go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 rather than 5 people go to 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever it might be.
Why do you think that works? Is it limiting people not feeling overwhelmed that they have to go so far and seeing like a realistic goal that they can achieve?
I'll give you an example of this. So I've won a couple affiliate awards, and the first time, one of the awards that I won, they made the prize for people that had done over $1 million in commissions. The next year they changed it, the same award. They kind of quietly did this. It's now I actually didn't realize for another year, because I was like, what in the world? It's for people that did $100,000. Initially, it was so impressive. And they were like, I forget how many people did it originally, maybe 2 or 3 folks. And so it was like this exclusive thing. It was like, oh my gosh, it feels so dedicated. And then what they realized is like, we want more award winners, because they were just trying to elevate more people to come alongside of it. So they actually lowered the threshold of the award so that they could have more award winners, because what they realize is they're like, the chance that they're going to get another 1 person to go to $1 million in commissions was less likely than getting 10 people to go to $100,000 in commissions. As they wanted the award to be attainable.
Yeah, it can actually be demotivating to have an award that's so far off from where somebody is, where you have to break through multiple like mindset barriers and capabilities. But yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And so you've seen this in other scenarios where sometimes they'll continue to like elevate the awards. So people break past it. But it's like when it always happens the first time when you're doing the award, or like you're creating the award, you're trying to find that sweet spot of like, you don't want to say, we just introduced a new award, nobody won it, and second place is about 2 years away from possibly winning it. Like that falls flat. It totally doesn't work. And so you want to be in that space where you're like, oh, we got some winners. And now there's like I saw example of a company, they just introduced a program and they said everybody who's referred over 4 folks. And so they've had, I think today they said they've had 4,000 customers, and the list of people for as far back as they could go to get records of referrals. And they had 8 people that had referred over 4 folks.
Wow.
So they created their leaderboard, their top 10. and there's 8. So like you could just be another person to refer for and you get on the leaderboard. Immediately you're in the top 10. There's 2 slots there just for folks that would be like, I can, if I'm at 3, I can go there. Now, they probably need to increase the visibility that they just introduced. It's like the next piece is, so you gamify it. So what do we say? We had like you could seed those awards. You can gamify, which is kind of part of this process here. And then you need to like automate the request, the ask for it, empower them to do the process. So how do you chart a very predictable path of success, almost as much as you would chart a predictable path of success for them consuming your product or experiencing your service? You can also architect that path of success for becoming an amazing referral partner. And so make it easy, straightforward, as low friction as possible for them. And so I've seen in other programs I've been a part of, they'll say like, hey, just 3-way connect. This is usually teams that have like large sales teams, and it'll just be like literally Facebook Messenger, connect us in there. And that's all it takes to make the referral, to make the connection.
I think that's really important. I think sometimes people, when they're trying to start a referral program, they worry too much about the gamification and some of the technical parts, and they actually are creating hurdles and barriers for people to start the referral.
Lower the barrier to what it means to have a referral. This is the challenging thing and counterintuitive because, it's for 2 reasons. Usually the business starts off and they think of all their motivation is monetary. So then they overdo it. They're like, I'm going to give you 20% commission. And then they realize that in the referral process, it's a referral to a salesperson who you might have you were also saying like, I wanted to pay commission there. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I make less money on my referrals. This is horrible. I don't want referrals. You're like, okay, there's where it backfires. And so, you can start wisely creating creative incentives for becoming a referral partner or doing those things, and, creating an awards, or some sort of gamification that could be more status, more time, whatever it is, more bonuses there. And something where you're not, it's not working against you, because to those earlier stats, you take a long enough view at it and a large enough view at it. And referrals are one of the few channels of traffic that have exponential dividends. If you get this really well and a customer is going to send you 3 more customers, and those 3 are going to send you 3 more customers, you're like, now the amount you're willing to spend on those other less efficient forms of traffic, paid media, like I pay $1, I get a lead, and I just got 1 lead, and then tomorrow it's going to cost more than it did yesterday, or next month it's cost more than it did last month. The exponential discount that you're applying to your business and allowing you to outspend your competitors is that that 1 lead on Facebook has a chance to pay exponential dividends in terms of organic leads that are more valuable, higher trusting, close at a higher rate, and have all those other positive effects on the business.
Absolutely. Well, give us one more like real world, either case study or example where you've seen businesses doing referrals well.
I'll give you this one hack. So we paid it was a sales consultant. I think it was like $30,000 to come in and like audit our process here. The one big takeaway was that you don't have to wait for someone to become a customer to ask for a referral. So it was in the sales conversation. When you get to the end of the sales conversation, and if it's clear you haven't overcome the objection, or they need more time to talk about it, think about it, whatever it is, to say, hey, maybe this isn't the right fit for you. I need more time to think about it. We're trying to help as many people as possible. Is there anybody that you might be able to connect me with, who might be interested in the same boat as you and trying to find a similar solution there? And they found 40% of the time asking this, they would get a referral. Before they became a customer, they could get their leads to send them a referral 40% of the time. And all that it was asking. And they made it very natural as part of the sales process there. So whether they bought or didn't buy. So let's say they bought, they're like, let me put down your credit card. They're like, hey, this is awesome. We're looking forward to get you onboarded. As I mentioned, we're trying to help as many people as possible. Is there anybody else in your network who might also want to be having this conversation with us? Anybody comes to top of mind right now? Just shut up. And 40% of the time, they'll come up with a name. You'd be like, awesome. Let me look them up. Is this person? This is the person on Facebook? Cool. Would you be able to just quickly intro me right now on Facebook? And so this was from a guy who was like top salesperson. He was like, this is what he did to be a top performing salesperson naturally. And that's all he did. And he did it selfishly for himself. He's like, I want to get as many commissions as possible. He's like, the company might send me some leads. And it's like, I'm not satisfied to just sell the leads that I was given, because he knew, all these sort of things. I was going to get a higher chance of sale, higher ticket of sale, easier sale on these referrals. So he would make this part of his sales process. And there's another way where we can just put that as part of the script. where you're now trying to get referrals on day one with every lead out there. And so if you can pull 40% there, that's not technical, not savvy. And it was derived out of just a salesperson who was committed to the hustle and committed to maximizing those possibilities. It was like, hey, the company paid X amount for this lead. I want to try and get, a 0.4% multiplier on all these opportunities here.
Yeah. So if you do nothing else from this episode, take that script that Matt just said and add it to at the end of every customer interaction, every sales call, every pitch, everything. Awesome.